Congratulations!
Hello, my young links, this is Young Link Society, and I just got back from watching Doctor Strange, and my gosh, man, it was crazy. It I'm here to basically do what I did with Krennic on Daredevil season 2 way back when I kind of wanted to do a discussion type thing. And this one's actually going to be quicker than that one because I'm just talking to myself, and uh, I feel like I go on less tangents if I'm alone. But not saying that I don't. I want to eventually get more guests on this because I want this to become more of a recurring thing. So I think that would be awesome if this happens more often and I get guests in. But today it's just me. So Doctor Strange was amazing. Sorry if you hear my mouse in the background. It's pretty loud, apparently. So I'm going to kind of give my thoughts on the movie and just keep on talking about what I thought of it. So I think I don't really know where to start though. Okay, there might be some cutting out. So I guess I'll start with the cast because I'm going into spoiler territory, but I'm not going to go through beat for the plot. I'll describe a few scenes. So this is for people that have seen the movie and wanted to give my thoughts on it. So first off, there's Benedict Cumberbatch as Stephen Strange, who is... First off, Benedict Cumberbatch is an amazing actor. He is great in this. And first off, he brings the emotion with this happening to him. He's a jerk. Well, at the beginning he's a jerk, but he slowly becomes more of a better person through the Ancient One and the stuff with the villain and Mordo. He slowly becomes a better person, but he's good at being someone that at the beginning you hate him. I did not like Stephen Strange at the beginning of the movie. I don't like people like that, because he is kind of a terrible person, because he doesn't, before he before he gets into his car wreck, he's talking to his assistant or something, someone that works for him, and he's going through all the potential clients he has, and he's avoiding a lot of them. He's brushing some of them off because he doesn't think it'll get him fame, and he's not going to get any attention for doing it. And that's a terrible thing to do, because these people need something that he can do. He's a brilliant surgeon, and the fact that he has an ego, and his ego blinds him in the beginning until his hands get all messed up. And that was such a hard scene to watch, by the way, with him and Rich McAdams' night nurse, who apparently there's two night nurses now, so that's a little bit confusing. There's one in the Netflix cinematic universe and another version in Doctor Strange. They're not the same character, but they are both night nurse essentially. And I'll talk about night nurse eventually, because I kind of have... It's one of my few problems with the film. So Benedict Cumberbatch, he was also really good at being funny. He had one of my favorite moments is when he's begging and begging outside the Ancient One's like temple, and he just leans back on the door, and they open it, and he just rolls in, and he just says, "Thank you," and that was hilarious to me. And then the end scene where he's with Dormammu, and he keeps on reversing time in a time loop, and it's I found that, I know I probably shouldn't have, but the amount of times he says I've come to make a bargain, I found that really funny. The amount of times he said it, so I think that was really good on him. Also, he's really great at masking his accent, his British accent, because in the movie, I saw it with someone that didn't really know about Benedict Cumberbatch, and he didn't know, he assumed that Benedict Cumberbatch was American, because he masked his British accent so well that he didn't realize that he was British. And I tried to tell him that he was a British guy. And I think that goes to how good of an actor he is, because that has to not be easy. Like, he's doing all this stuff on the screen, and he also has to be like, oh, I have to talk like an American. I mean, I'm sure that took many takes, and I'm sure it took him time to master that, but he is really good in the movie. And I'm excited to see him in more stuff, because, spoilers, well, this whole thing's a spoiler anyway, he talks to Thor, and I don't know if they've confirmed it or anything, but I'm pretty sure they imply that Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch, is going to be in Thor Ragnarok, and that would be awesome, because Doctor Strange, the movie, isn't much like, you could make it where it's not in the cinematic universe. Like, it's, you could remove, there's only a few lines and one scene, excluding the end credits, where you see Avengers Tower. They could have removed that, and it would have been its own movie, ignoring, of course, a few lines about the Avengers that Wong says near the climax of the movie, where he's explaining to Doctor Strange what they do, which is protect the world from mystical threats like Dormammu and Caecilius. So I think that's cool. Because the other standalone movies, the last origin movie we got was Ant-Man, and Ant-Man was way more like, this is part of the cinematic universe. We saw Agent Carter at the beginning. They mentioned the Avengers a lot. Hank Pym worked for S.H.I.E.L.D. For a while, worked with a guy that would turn out to be part of Hydra, I'm pretty sure. I forget specifically who he is, but I'm pretty sure he's Hydra. And, of course, Howard Stark is there, too. And then, of course, Scott Lang fights Falcon halfway through the movie. So, it's obviously part of it. And they had to do that to put Ant-Man in Civil War, which that went well, because Giant Man. Also, one more thing I want to say about Benedict Cumberbatch. I'll probably say more things now that I say, oh, it's the last thing. Anyway, he also screen capped most of Dormammu's. Dormammu does appear in one. He actually does stuff in one scene. We do see him in another scene, and he's mentioned throughout the entire movie. Dormammu could be considered the main villain of this movie, even though you only see him. He only moves around once. You see his eyes once, which, that's awesome. Like, they set him up where he can come back later. And I think Dormammu, if done right, is probably going to be one of the best Marvel Cinematic Universe villains. Like, if they continue down this road, Dormammu can be like the next Loki, or the next Loki, the next I'm trying to think of villains from the MCU. The next Loki, the next Zemo, just a character that comes back and is a great villain. And I hope that they continue to do that, where we get this great villain in the movie and throughout the entire cinematic universe, because Dormammu's a big deal, and like technically they could make an Avengers movie based off fighting Dormammu, but I don't think they'll do that. I think that's all I want to say about Benedict Cumberbatch. He's great in the movie. He's funny. I can't wait to see him in Thor Ragnarok, because I really hope he's in Thor Ragnarok. Because at least they have to mention him, because he's helping the Thor find Odin. So Benedict, I keep on calling him Doctor Strange, wants Thor, Loki, and all the Asgardians gone, because he feels like they're a threat to the Earth. And they're technically mystical, so it goes under his jurisdiction, and just wants them gone, obviously. Next is moving on to the next character. I literally spent like 12 minutes just talking about how good of an actor Benedict Cumberbatch is. Next is, I can't say his name, it's Chedwell Ejiofor? I know how to say his last name, but I haven't really heard his first name said. He's a Colonel Mordor, or Baron Mordo, from the comics, who is one of the, out of the Doctor Strange villains, he's one of the big ones. He's probably the most like important and like probably the most famous Doctor Strange villain is Dormammu, but Baron Mordo is very important to the lore of Doctor Strange. He's one of his first villains. He's been around for a long time. I'm pretty sure Baron Mordo was in like the first run, like the first story arc of Doctor Strange. Like he was like there from like the beginning. And Ejiofor, I wasn't sure about him at first, because I don't know how he would become a villain, because he seems like a very nice guy at the beginning, but as the film progresses, this is a small problem I have. I don't feel like they developed Mordo enough for him at the end to become a villain, because one of the two end credit scenes relates to Mordo, and Mordo, I don't think that the film did a good job of turning him evil, but maybe a few more scenes where because it kind of turns very quickly, because he does feel betrayed, and like the one problem I have is that he says that after the few months he has an enlightenment, which means that time has passed. I think I would have bought him becoming a villain a lot more. I still buy it, but I would have bought it a lot more if we see what happened in those months. Like, did anything happen? What did he do? Like, when did he get this idea? So I feel like Doctor Strange 2, which I'm sure it's going to happen, is going to be Baron Mordo is going to be the villain, because that's what they set up, and it'll be weird if they just don't do that. So I don't think Dormammu is going to be the main villain next time. Well, he's technically not the main villain of this time, but whatever, you get what I mean. He's kind of the thing that's behind everything. Like how Thanos technically could be considered the main villain of Guardians of the Galaxy. Technically. he's the main villain, but the other villain is the main focus of the characters. So, moving on. Mordo was pretty good. I liked him. I want to see more from him, and which that's a problem because we're gonna have to wait for a while because I don't think like the only sorry that I say like a lot. Doctor Strange 2 is probably not going to come out till like the 2020s, which that seems so far away, but it's technically not. Phase 3, when does Phase 3 technically end? I'm pretty sure they added a few movies to Phase 3. Could look it up. Phase 3, Ray. Just give me a second. Mordo, however, he's a good villain. We won't probably see a lot from him. I can't really see him popping up anywhere else, so we probably won't see him again until Doctor Strange 2. I don't really see him appearing in the Infinity War or anything, so which it's a shame. The last one is wait. I'm trying to find when the last one comes out. Okay. The last one listed is the Untitled Avengers sequel in 2019. So I think Doctor Strange is going to be one of their first movies of their next phase. I think their next phase is going to be sequels to. I think the first films of Phase 4 will be a Doctor Strange 2, Inhumans, and a Spider-Man sequel. So that's what I think they're going to do. It's really not that far away because next year is going to be the second year of Phase 3 after the first one was released. So, and we still have like stuff like Netflix to hold us over. So, yeah. Speaking of Netflix, at the end credit scene, I swore that when Mordo's walking through with his hood on, I thought it was actually Luke Cage at first, and I was like, what? Why is Luke Cage here? And then I realized, oh, it's Mordo, and that probably someone's going to think that that's a racist comment. I'm not racist. Next, Night Nurse, played by Rachel McAdams. I feel like her character was kind of wasted. Because I don't think she was that good of a character. Because I mostly say that because she's not in the movie that much. She appears periodically. She appears mostly in the beginning, and then near the end, after Doctor Strange gets stabbed, and then he gets stabbed, and then the Ancient One dies, and Rachel McAdams, Night Nurse, is there. And that was good. I liked her. Like, she's funny, like the scene where she's saving Doctor Strange's life after he got stabbed, and she's like freaking out, especially when Doctor Strange leaves. He teleports out of there with the fire ring, and then the fire ring disappears, and then that mop falls over, and then she screams because the mop made a bang sound. I thought that was funny. I think I would have liked her more if she was in it more, but I feel like they should have done because I think I'm in the majority in saying that I would have much rather see Clea in the movie. Like, have Clea be a student of the Ancient One, that the Ancient One saved from another dimension, maybe saved from Dormammu, and then have her maybe help out help Doctor Strange and Baron Mordo. I think they will introduce Clea eventually, because I feel like not introducing Clea is kind of a missed opportunity. Like, why didn't you do that character? And like, it's such a key character. It's like having a Batman trilogy, and like having a series of Batman movies, and you don't introduce Selena Kyle, or you don't introduce one of the Robins like Dick Grayson. Like, you have to eventually do it, because it's so big of that character's mythos that you have to eventually do it. And I think Clea is a character that we will see maybe in the sequel or maybe in the third movie. But my problem is, I think that she will be shoehorned in. Like, either way, Rachel McAdams, I think, is going to get the short end of the stick. Like, Night Nurse is going to get this Night Nurse is going to get kicked out because, or something's going to happen to her. Like, I feel like she might die eventually. Like, she might come back for the sequel, then Mordo kills her. Like, I'm already thinking that might happen, which, that's one way to do it. That's a pretty good story thing. It's like when they killed, Rachel. I think that was, Rachel, in the Dark Knight. I think most people saw it coming, but it was still good. So if they have that in the sequel, Mordo kills her, I think that would be a good way to do it. A good way to, maybe if people that liked her, and I liked her too, like, maybe not have her death be wasted, or have her just disappear without any closure, like the love interest from the Hulk movie, Betty Ross. Like, just have her disappear. Like, we don't know like what happens to her, and therefore it kind of feels kind of hollow. And they're probably not going to reintroduce her. Honestly, they could. They technically could, but it's weird. Like, I feel like there were more scenes of her, or I don't know. I feel like she could be more of a better thing. I think Rachel McAdams was also a great actor for Clea, but I don't know. They went with Night Nurse, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's kind of like you could have gone with this other character who's really good also, and more popular. But they wanted I don't know, maybe they wanted to do their own thing, which is nothing wrong with that. Next listed is Wong. Wong is the librarian of the temple that the Ancient One lives in, and it's a school, basically. It's a magic school. It's Hogwarts. It looks like Asian Hogwarts. That sounded a lot better in my head. Anyway, Wong is he was very funny in the movie, because he introduces himself as Wong, just Wong, and Doctor Strange, he's just like, Wong, is it like, and he starts mentioning like all these like famous like singers, and that just go by one name, like Beyonce, Drake, Eminem, and then eventually, after he calls him Beyonce, we see Wong listening to all the single ladies, and that was amazing. That was such a funny scene, and like, when I saw it, like, the entire audience was just bursting out laughing. It was a great moment, and I really want to see more of him. I think Wong, also, it was confirmed that Benedict Cumberbatch is going to be in the Infinity War, which we all assumed, but Wong is also going to be in it. So Wong is obviously going to stay with Strange. He's going to be his right-hand man, just like in the comics, so that's awesome. We have some minor characters here. The next big one, This is a big one. Mads Mikkelsen as Caecilius, or it's probably pronounced different. Whatever. I heard it like pronounced two ways in the movie. I'm pretty sure. I feel like they said his name differently twice. Like I don't know. It's I'm starting to get a little bit brain fuzzled. I can't talk for this long. I'm losing air. But he was a good villain, which so far Phase 3 is doing pretty well. They got Zemo, who was a really good villain, and then they have Caecilius, who's a good villain. I don't think he's as good as Zemo, but I think that they're more slowly going down the road where they have really good villains. Because before they only really had a few good villains. They had sorry, I'm kind of puzzled right now. You have Loki, Red Skull was pretty good, Abomination was fine. Then Phase 2 probably had the worst ones. Mandarin was pretty... I don't even think I need to talk about Mandarin anymore, and what was wrong with that. The villain from Guardians wasn't that good. Neither was the guy from... Oh yeah, the guy that had like 10 minutes of Thor: The Dark World, Malekith. Like, that guy's barely in the movie. By the way, Thor: The Dark World is my least favorite Marvel movie, just letting you guys know. Mads Mikkelsen is a great actor, and he brought a really intimidating character. Caecilius doesn't talk much. He's very silent, but when he talks, he has this presence where, like, everything just goes right to him. And that's doing something, and that's saying something when Benedict Cumberbatch is also in this movie, who kind of has the same thing, where, like, whenever he's acting, whenever he's in the scene, everything just goes to him. Like, you could just tell. Caecilius is a villain that, not a lot of development, but he's believable in the world that they set up, and he has a legitimate reason for going against Doctor Strange, the Ancient One, all of them, and his logic is very sound, because he has a legitimate point, and he thinks that he's doing the right thing, and some could say that technically he could be doing the right thing, but at the end we learned that he was not doing the right thing, and he was misled by Dormammu and the spell. I really like the makeup under his eyes. I think that looks very cool. Caecilius is the main villain, but isn't at the same time. Dormammu is the main villain, and Dormammu is behind basically everything. He's kind of using Caecilius to get Earth, which he really wants Earth. For some reason, I don't really think they said why he wants Earth specifically. Maybe it's just because Earth's in the way, and his next spot's Earth, and he's like, oh, I've conquered hundreds and hundreds of other worlds, might as well get this one too. So, I can get that. I kind of understand that. It made more sense when I thought about it. Caecilius' henchmen are really cool. Caecilius is the main reason for that amazing scene with the buildings in New York, and everything's like the Inception stuff, and everything's like tilting. He's doing all that, and it's so cool to look at. It's like the best thing. Like, in the credits, like, in like the black and white credits rolling down the screen, the CG artists took up the most time, like, in the credits, because there were just so many people who worked on those scenes. Like, I'm sure a majority of, like, a good amount of the budget went to that scene, to that... It's not really a scene, it's just all those moments. Was probably that entire part That was like a lot of money, and that it's still really cool though. Like, it's such a cool scene. Caecilius, in the end, like I said, is not as good as Zemo, but is still a really good villain. He does die at the end, which it's a Marvel tradition. It's a comic book movie tradition specifically. The villain has to die at the end. Only a few of them live. Like, only like the ones they know they can do more with, like Magneto and Loki. They live. Joker. Well, not in the Tim Burton one. Anyway, he's a good villain. I'm kind of sad that they killed him off because I feel like I wanted more from him, but it kind of just makes sense. He's not even that big of a villain in the comics. If you look up Caecilius on like Wikipedia or something, he technically he has a very small Wikipedia page. Like before the movie was made, he didn't even have a page. He didn't even have the thing where like you could see like all of Doctor Strange's like supporting characters, enemies at like the bottom of Wikipedia. He's there now, but if he wasn't in the movie, he wouldn't have been in there. So that's cool. Wesley is the Ancient One. The Ancient One was a character I wasn't sure about going in because the Ancient One, I assumed, and I was right in the end, that the Ancient One was going to die. So I kind of didn't really pay much attention to the Ancient One in the trailers. I didn't really even care that much that they casted a white actress instead of an Asian actress for the Ancient One. I didn't care that much. I thought that they should have maybe casted, at the time, I thought they should have probably casted someone that was Asian. But in the film, she is amazing. Tilda Swinton is great in the movie. I really liked her. She's a good character, and I didn't expect me to care about her because I already like, oh, she's gonna die. But Tilda Swinton's performance was so good, and she had a lot of good jokes that, honestly, she won me over, and I was very sad once she dies near the end of the movie. It was sad. Like, I was legitimately heartbroken that this character I didn't care about at all in the at all during the casting, during the trailers. I didn't care for her at all. I didn't pay attention to her. She kind of stole the show for me, and maybe she didn't steal the show for others, but the fact that I kind of dismissed her as someone that's just going to get killed off from Doctor Strange to get more motivation, technically that's what she is. She teaches Doctor Strange, and then she ties into Caecilius, and then she dies. That's what she's there for, technically. But she does such a good job. I think it would be awesome if Tilda Swinton reappears. She's obviously dead. But in flashbacks and in maybe there's a spell or something that Doctor Strange can do that he can see her, or at least maybe recreate an image of her or something. I don't know. But I really hope that Tilda Swinton does at least cameo, or there's a flashback, or at least mention her. They're gonna at least mention the Ancient One, obviously. So I think it was pretty awesome to have her in there. So also she's like super old in the movie. She doesn't look that old. She doesn't look that old, but she's been around for centuries and centuries, using pretty big plot twist. So she's actually using some of the power from Dormammu to do it, and I thought that was actually a good twist. So, but I still liked her a lot, and I was legitimately sad when she died. So my only big problems with the film is I felt like Night Nurse was kind of wasted, and um, like she serves a big purpose, but uh, she felt kind of added on. Like, oh, we just need this character. Here's this person. Then there's I feel like Mordo turning to the bad side was a little bit too quick. That's some of the problems some of the Marvel movies have, like Obadiah Stane and what's his name? Yellow Jacket. Of course, no, that's the actor. Just Yellow Jacket. Yellow Jacket just kind of goes crazy in the end, and you would only really understand that if you remember that Pym particles kind of make you crazy, but his name is Darren Cross. Darren Cross kind of goes crazy at the end, and yeah, it's because of the Pym particles, but Hank Pym's not really like that, and they're basically the same particles. It's weird. It didn't really explain that well in Ant-Man, but that's really my only problems. There's a slight problem I feel with pacing, because at the end, the final like battle with Caecilius, it feels like that happened in one day, and I know it has to, but it felt too quick. Like, maybe it's because I wanted more, but it felt like that ended too quickly and too easily. Technically, Doctor Strange died multiple times to do it, in one of the best scenes in the movie. That was an amazing scene. But besides that, I didn't really have any problems. I told this to the people I went with and to my friend Krennic on YouTube, that this might be my favorite Marvel movie. It's one of my favorites, obviously, but I think for me to truly decide if this is my favorite Marvel movie, I'm going to have to watch it a few more times. When it comes out on DVD, I don't really go back to a movie to watch it in the cinema. It's not really what I do, even if I really like the movie. Like, I would have, I didn't see The Dark Knight in theaters because I wasn't really that into comic books at the time, or comic book movies but even though if I've seen it now, obviously, and I really liked it, but if I saw it in the cinema, I would have not have seen it twice. It's not really what I do. Mostly because my parents are like, oh, the movies are expensive, and the movies are expensive, especially my town, where like we spent probably $25 on like me and just I shared with someone, and me and him, we bought popcorn and a drink, and and 2 tickets, and it was like $25, and now it's kind of insane. And so yeah, I would have not seen it multiple times. So I'll wait till DVD, which will be next year, early next year. So that's exciting. I'm definitely going to get it. So, besides that, I did have a funny story. I saw it when I was there, there was this little girl in the audience. She was watching it, and occasionally she would make a comment to her dad. Her dad brought her in there. I don't know, she wanted to see it, or he wanted to see it, and he had no one to babysit the kid, so he brought the kid. I don't know. I feel like the second one's funnier, but the kid, when Doctor Strange goes to talk to Dormammu and he's going through the dark dimension, she's like, I don't know what that is. Is that a house? Yeah, it's a house. That is funny. Like she said, like she confirmed it like 2 seconds later. Yeah, it's definitely a house. That's really funny to me. Like the way she said it, like you had to be there to really understand how funny it was. Like at first, I thought I was gonna find her annoying because she kept on talking for the commercials, but she was fairly quiet. Uh, she only said a few things, like I said, and it was during funny moments. She laughed occasionally at the jokes, which that's good. So good job, Doctor Strange. You make children laugh. Woo. uh, but that's really all I have to say. I've been rambling to myself in my room for 40 minutes. That's awesome. But thanks for watching all my Young Links. This has been Young Link Society. Tell me what you thought of Doctor Strange, and what is your favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, and where does Doctor Strange land on your list? So, thanks for watching all my Young Links. I already said the outro. Goodbye.